When an infant is born, often one of the first questions is it a boy or a girl? Biologically speaking, gender is more complex than this. Superficially, it seems simple in that about half of sperm carry a Y chromosome, and if they fertilize the egg, this would result in an XY male, while the other half carry an X chromosome, and if they fertilize the egg, this would result in an XX female. But this level of chromosomal gender determination can be more complex. There are other chromosome combinations possible in humans, such as females which only have one X chromosome, or males which have two X chromosomes and a Y chromosome, and thus a mix of male and female traits. One could assume that gonadal gender always follows chromosomal gender, in that all XY fetuses will develop testes and all XX fetuses will develop ovaries. This is not the case. It is possible for the SRY gene from the Y chromosome to move or be non-functional. It is possible for other genes to be duplicated or be non-functional, and this can cause a discrepancy between gonadal gender and chromosomal gender. In other words, individuals who are chromosomally male, XY, could have ovaries, and individuals who are chromosomally female, XX, could have testes. Non-disjunction of chromosomes occurring as an embryo is dividing could cause a mosaic individual which actually has an ovary and a testis, or an ovotestis which has both ovarian and testicular tissue. Once gonadal gender is determined, there's more, because hormones such as estrogens and androgens will determine somatic gender. Somatic cells are those cells of the body other than those which are involved in the germline, those of the ovaries and testes, which are actually producing the sex cells of the next generation. Some of these are reproductive tissues, such as the clitoris and the penis, the labia and the scrotum, while others are tissues which simply cause secondary sexual characteristics, such as, facial hair and the length of the vocal cords, etc. So one might think that the somatic tissues of individuals with testes would look male, and the somatic tissues of those with ovaries would look female. But that depends on hormones, and hormones can vary. There are different estrogens, there are different androgens, and different individuals can produce varying amounts. We have receptors for these hormones which allow them to be effective, but like all proteins, these can vary. So some receptors are non-functional or vary in their function. Then there can be outside sources of hormones. The famous example is adrenal glands providing too much androgen in females. All of this could result in somatic gender not matching the gonadal gender. In other words, individuals with testes do not look male, and individuals with ovaries do not look female, or do so to varying degrees. Somatic gender would include brain gender, and it could be simple. It could be that fetal testosterone causes the brains of male fetuses to develop in a male-specific pattern, and the absence of this causes female brains to develop in a female-specific pattern, and this is responsible for the small differences we notice in adult brains due to gender. But it is more complicated. We know that other things might influence this process. For example, we know that there are endocrine disrupting compounds which can disturb gender ratios in fish and produce intersex individuals, or convert males into females, etc. And then also environmental chemicals which are estrogenic and anti-estrogenic, which we are concerned about affecting a number of aspects of human health, including gender. In the scientific literature, there are papers which suggest that certain alleles of specific genes can influence attraction or gender identity. And there are papers in the scientific literature which suggest that brain regions can vary based on attraction or gender identity. So, based on this, it seems that brain gender and attraction does not have to necessarily match the other aspects of somatic gender. If one were to turn to the natural world with the idea that, quote, what was natural would be simple, one would be surprised by the number of variations one can find in the ways that gender is determined, the way that individuals can interact, both heterosexually and homosexually, including in some of our closest ape relatives. And so, gender is complex biologically. And like so many aspects of the human body, in order to understand it fully, we simply have to appreciate all of the multiple layers which go in determining gender and all of the variations which we can find at these separate levels.